Nice. All right. First of all, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Supermyces. Um, Tonight is going to be um, the second installment of the first Maisa of the Lost Princess, to which, as you probably recall, we switched from this Maisa of the cripple in hope that we'll be able to be a bit more, less opaque. So we find what it is that we need to do more easily without getting into very deep inyanim, Kabbalistic inyanim, and so forth and so on. So without further ado, let me just share the screen. It's not too big. All right. So, as we said, there was a king, 6 sons, and 1 daughter. And we said that that daughter was very important to her father. And he spent a lot of time with her. One time when the king was with his daughter, he became upset, and the dibur, may the not good take you, was thrown out of the king's mouth, as it were. And at night she went to her room, and in the morning nobody could find her. And we see that, and said the king was very, very distressed. And he moved to and fro to look for her. And then we said that the viceroy, the second in the kingship, arose because he saw that the king was very distressed and asked to be given an attendant, who was a servant, a horse, and money for expenses, and he went to search for her. So he says he searched for her for a very long time until he found her. And now Rabbeinu is telling us how he searched for her until he found her. It's very interesting because we have later on, as you see in the story, that with all the trial and tribulations that happened to the viceroy, that the princess was in a place that was seemingly unattainable. In fact, it actually appeared as if the place doesn't exist. And when he finally overcomes all the trials and tribulations that he had to, to get to where the princess was, Rabbeinu also says a very similar sentence. And he says, and he was there until he took her out. And Rabbeinu does not get into details how he actually took the princess out. So we know that this particular Maisa, we're talking about the king, we're talking about the princess. Besides the deep Kabbalistic inyanim that are intrinsic in this Maisa, there's also a very, very basic statement, which all the Torah of Rabbeinu and all the Maisas, they all have the same characteristics that they contain depth upon depth upon depth. But at the same time, they contain a message that is very accessible, very reachable to each and every one of us. So the sons, as we said the last time, represents the midas, represent the traits. Each one is a known entity. The chesed is chesed, and the gvura is gvura, tiferes is tiferes, and so forth and so on. Midas emes and so forth. And each one of those midas has something to bring to the table. In other words, the midah of chesed is bringing chesed to the table. The ability to give, the ability to, the will to give, the propensity to give, propensity to forgive. On the other hand, you have the midah of gvura. The gvura also brings something unique to the table, and that is the ability to constrict, the ability to stop. We said quite a few times that in order to have any kind of relationship, definitely a healthy relationship, the midah of gvura is a must. The midah of gvura is a must for a relationship because first and foremost, you have to use the gvura on yourself and constrict yourself, both your own chesed and both your own dominion. People that have no boundaries. It doesn't matter whether the boundaries are chesed or the lack of boundaries is gvura. In other words, they just control other people through anger. No relationship can exist if you're not holding yourself back. If you just pour on the chesed non-stop, you suffocate the other side. You ruin your children because you can't do this. In order for anybody to have a relationship with you, you have to put a border, a boundary to yourself. This is where I end, and from now on, this is you. And you have your own freedom of movement, your own breathing room, living space with which to express himself or herself and develop. If a person does not have boundaries, there's no relationship. Then we have the midah of tiferes. Tiferes is the emes, midas emes, obviously. Midas emes is the Torah. Midas emes is the way that you get in touch with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's the way that you, the meat of Kadosh Baruch Hu is emes, to the point that the name Yudke Vavke is in Tiferes, and so forth and so on. So each one of the midos, which is the sons, as it were, the reason why they're typified as they're characterized as sons is the sons is male. This is the giving, the party that is supposed to do the giving. It's called male. The daughter is the malchus. That's the trait that's supposed to be receiving everything. But we're not talking about inert receiving. We're talking about a receiving that has the ability to receive and to retain that which she gets, and to develop it and give forth something much more complete, far superior to whatever it is that she got in the beginning. In Ruchnius, the sons represent the das, the different cognition traits, vessels, faculties. The daughter of the king, the princess, represents the Emunah. Now, when we say that one time the king was with his daughter, and the saying, "May the not good take you," was thrown out of the king's mouth. And at night, she went to her room, and in the morning, nobody knew where she were. Rabbeinu was being very specific. He does not say that the king said, "May the not good take you." He said that the dibur, the words, the saying, "May the not good take you," was thrown out of the king's mouth. That's because the trait of evil, the trait of lie, had to be created in order for free choice to exist. There's no other way that it can exist. But a lie and evil and darkness is so diametrically opposed to what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is about, that it cannot be something that emanates from HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a direct manner. It has to be thrown out of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mouth, as it were. This is talking about what they call a dilug, a kfitza, a jump over an abyss. That the Kadosh Baruch Hu is there on one side, and the darkness and the evil is on the other side. And the dibur that the not good will take the malchus, or they take the emunah, has to jump over the gap, as it were. That's the chalapuni. That's the vacant space. That's why when we daven in the morning, we're saying Yoitzer Or, or Voire Choshech. The Kadosh Baruch Hu forms light, and creates darkness. When we're talking about light, being that light is a manifestation, a greatly reduced but still a manifestation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we said it's a Yotzer Or. Yetzira is something that you do from something that already exists. So it's Yotzer Or. But the Choshech, darkness, is something that has to be created from nothing. Because exactly the opposite of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We say V'boire Choshech. Yotzer Or and Boire Choshech. That's why once the king says, once the dibur is thrown out of the king's mouth, may the not good to take you, we say at night she went to her room, in the morning she couldn't be seen anymore. There's a very deep inyan to why it is with the daughter the king did this and not with one of the sons. That is because Emunah, on one hand, again, is the diametrically, it's the opposite of what the Kadosh Baruch Hu is. Kadosh Baruch Hu is total cognizance. Kulo das. Hu v'chachmaso echad. Kadosh Baruch Hu and his wisdom is one thing. Kadosh Baruch Hu is all-knowing. The Emunah is exactly the opposite of that. The Emunah is the acceptance on blind faith, as it were, that what you're telling me is true. Rabbeinu says that Emunah is something which is shayach only when you don't know. Because if you know, what is shayach to say that you believe? You know, you can see it. Something that you don't know, you can't see, you don't have proof, you can't ascertain, there you can believe. And that what you know, you know. The king does not tell any of his sons, the mashpin, the male, the cognizant, may the not good take you, because they won't be able to survive in the captivity of the evil. The only midah that can possibly endure the hastara and the trials and tribulations of galus in the darkness is only that trait which does not need proof to take something as a given fact. And that's the emunah. Because in the darkness you can't see. You have to take it on faith. Not only you have to take it on faith, the only way to take it is on faith. The minute the dibur came out of the king's mouth, the concept of night was created. Then we say that the princess went to her room, and in the morning she couldn't be found. Rabbeinu talks at great length in Torah Lamed Ches, in Kutuv Aharon, the first chelek, about the cycle, actually the never-ending process of the perfection of the emunah in the das, where the day represents cognition and das and chochmah, and the night represents the emunah. So during the day, a person learns, a person works, and the mental faculties get tired. So at night they have to be renewed. And the way that they're renewed is they're actually being removed. The person goes to sleep. And the only thing that remains is the Emunah. The Das is actually entering the Emunah and gets renewed. In the morning, it's a whole process, Chatzois and so forth and so on. In the morning, there is the birth of the Das again, and this is signified by putting on tefillin. Tefillin contain the Das. There's the Das faculties, and there's the Chochmah and Bina, and the Das, which is divided into two. This is the four houses of tefillin. So tefillin is really the epitome, the apex of Das. You get it in the morning. The Emunah, which gave birth, as it were, to the new Das, in Tefillah, you get a new asaga, a new recognition, a new cognizance of the Gdula of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then during the day, the Emunah basically disappears. You go to work. You go to work, you're busy. You're busy with this, you're busy with that, and that's Emunah, so you woke up in the morning and you went to shul, and whatever it is, Baruch Hashem, so you nurse the Emunah, Baruch Hashem. But at night, but during the day, the Emunah is covered. Because you can see. Or at least you think that you can see. And again, the mental faculties get exercised throughout the day until they get tired at night. They leave and go to sleep again. The only thing that can exist and hold on in the darkness is the Emunah. Obviously, the Emunah is fed by the Das of the day. The 6 sons, they are giving to the daughter. They're giving the Das. Rabbeinu says that any Emunah doesn't have Das in it, you can fall from it very easily. The minute somebody goes and improves something to you, the opposite way, you can fall from it. But ultimately, it is the Emunah that holds on. So here comes the Viceroy. The Viceroy is the Neshama of men. The Neshama of men is you and me. And the basis of the search for the princess is the empathy and the tsar that the Viceroy feels for the Melech. Because the tsar of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even though, this is what we said the last time, because the tsar of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even if it's temporary, as it were, until the Geula Shleima, there will still be, the fact is that the Kavod HaKadosh Baruch Hu is hidden. The Kavod HaKadosh Baruch Hu is infinite. The damage that is done even in a superficial and temporary concealment of the Kavod of Hashem is endless. The Tsar is endless. It's not like, all right, okay, listen, it's just got some make-believe kind of thing. Forget about it. No. The Tsar is real. The Tsar of the Melech is real. When a Yid is in trouble, the Tsar of the Melech is real. Bechol tzarosam lo tsar. Whenever it is that you feel a tsar, HaKadosh Baruch Hu feels that tsar. So what do you want to say? Your tsar is not real? Of course it's real. Kadosh Baruch Hu feels it much more than you do. Because your das is limited. And Kadosh Baruch Hu is unlimited. Even though Kadosh Baruch Hu does everything. Kadosh Baruch Hu can fix things. Should be absolutely no distress whatsoever. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu feels the distress. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu wants you not to feel the distress, and still you do feel the distress, which means it's the best thing for you. Still, the Tsar of the Melech is infinite. And we went on a great length of how the Baal HaSulam explains that the Kadosh Baruch Hu is the ultimate giver and the person is the ultimate receiver, which is why they are the opposite of one another. But the whole purpose of the Bria, the whole purpose of developing the will to receive, is so ultimately you can altruistically give the Kadosh Baruch Hu your capacity and your will to receive from Him, just to give the Kadosh Baruch Hu the opportunity to give. You don't want it for yourself, you want it for Hashem. That's the highest madrega that there is. That's the madrega that will all be, B'ezrat Hashem, in the world to come. Everybody will see Hashem. But the first thing is that a person feels that Tsar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he goes searching for the Emunah. So let's take a look at, just 1 second, let's take a look at the text again. And here we go. And he says, he traveled a long time in deserts, fields, and forests, and he sought her for a very long time. He was going around in the desert, and he saw a way from the side. He decided, since I have been going for such a long time in the desert and cannot find her, I will follow this path. Maybe I will reach a settled area. He went for a long time. The first thing that Rabbeinu tells us is that if you want to search for the Emunah, if you want to search for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the only way that you can have a Shachas HaKadosh Baruch Hu is through Emunah. And Emunah is the task that you have to go through and you have to accomplish in this world. The schar comes in Olam Haba. The first obstacle that you meet. Yes, in the very beginning you get a certain, a magnificent aura and a burst of light that calls you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Once you got it, once you know what it's all about, I mean, without it, nothing can ever happen. But once you know what it's all about, then it's taken away from you. Because if you would go in this world knowing and seeing full well that everything that happens to you is from Kodesh Baruch Hu, and you feel a gewaldige satisfaction with your emunah, and it's gewaldig, there's no choice involved anymore. You have to understand. Rabbi Nelson says it in the Likutei Halachos, Ilchos Nefilas Apayim. He says the thing that drives the Apikoros nuts is not so much the Torah and mitzvahs. They can live with that. They come up with all kinds of excuses. What are the mitzvahs for? It's for this, it's for social this, it's for, order in society, whatever it is. All kinds of idiotic reasonings that they give. But the thing that they cannot possibly contain and drive them out of their minds is the simcha that the Jew has in the mitzvahs. Because according to their horrendous and hideous state of mind, or understanding or believing, whatever it is that you want to call it, there's no tachas for anything. So simcha mazoisa. What is there a reason to be happy? No, what your team won the World Series? What kind of simcha is that? You know, years ago, I think in the 80s, I'm not sure, the Chicago Bears, it's a football team, had a quarterback called Jim McMahon. He made millions of dollars. There was another guy, I don't know exactly who, I think it was Tampa Bay or something like that, I don't know. His name was Brett Favre, another quarterback. They both said that because of all the concussions that they went through, to win the Super Bowl, to win the championship, all the knocks, everything they went through, they were living on 100 pills of opioids a month just to contain the pain. And to get off the opiate, this Brett Favre said that he seriously contemplated suicide from the agony of getting off the painkillers. Amati la simcha mazu oisa. What kind of simcha is that? According to them, there is some kind of a glee. Maybe there's some kind of a empty, idiotic celebration that lasts, I don't know, for 5 minutes, and then it's gone. Doesn't mean anything. You know? What do you say when your team is losing? There's always next year, right? Wait until next year. Well, because this year doesn't mean anything. Next year doesn't mean anything either. But there's some kind of a dimion, just you wait, and next year we're going to get us some good players, we're going to get some, whatever it is, and things are going to, what are you talking about? The one thing that I cannot accept is the simcha that you have in the mitzvahs. Comes the question, what kind of simcha do you have in the mitzvahs? The answer is very simple. For a few shekels, you can buy yourself a tzitzis. And the entire world, entire universe, cannot contain the light of the mitzvah of tzitzis that you can buy for a few shekels. They say that the Vilna Gaon, B'Shem the Vilna Gaon, something pretty similar. He says that before he passed away, he was crying. So they asked him, why are you crying? You know, Malachim are working overtime to prepare your Gan Eden. So he said, in this world, for a few kopikas, you can get yourself a tzitzis. You know, and the tzitzis is tcheles, resembles the sea, and the sea resembles the shamayim, and the shamayim resembles the kisa kovet. So for a couple of kopikas, you can get yourself something which is akin to kisa kovet. The entire world cannot contain the light of just a mitzvah of tzitzis. When you do a mitzvah, You are arming yourself with light that the entire universe cannot contain if it would have to exist for a million years. No way. The mitzvah is your connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When you are performing a mitzvah, when you do it for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you are connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You have the Kadosh Baruch Hu. You have the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Well, Hashem, you're not against him, but you have the Kadosh Baruch Hu. You have the Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's a simcha that never, ever, 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 ever ends. What you have got is so beyond anything you can imagine. This is the source of all the simcha. This is what drives them crazy. This is what drives Epicurus crazy. Do mitzvahs, learn Torah, whatever you want, but do the mitzvahs as social, whatever it is, and learn Torah as a mental exercise, whatever it is. But simcha? Because simcha is emunah. Simcha is the Kadosh Baruch Hu himself. So the first test that you meet when you get into this world is a desert. When a desert, what's happening in the desert? What's in the desert? The desert has its own rules. What are the rules? Rules. I mean, when you're in the desert, you're feeling very, very, very small. You're feeling very insignificant. The dunes and sand stretch to the horizon from all sides. You are dependent on the amount of water that you have with you. People that in the desert that have a well will fight to death anybody who encroaches their well. When you are searching for emunah, you have to do the same kind of action, as it were, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created evil. You have to jump over a belt of nothingness. You are parched. You don't see anything. You don't feel anything except that you're dead tired and you're hot and you're thirsty. And it's the ultimate test of endurance. Every single step in the desert is not an exercise in futility. It's not just a ways and means to get to where you need to get. When you are searching for the Bas Melech, when you are searching for the Emunah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, every single step that you are taking is Emunah itself. Every single test that you are withstanding is a victory. It becomes a faculty to contain Emunah. And the Emunah is a faculty to contain Das. This is V'yadasa Hayom V'ashavota Levavecha that Hashem is Elokim. And you will know today, and you put it into your heart, that Kazbo Hashem Elokim. The first thing you need to go is the test Do you really mean it? And the reason why it's to be that way is when somebody wants to, let's take an example from this world. You want to be a champion, right? You want to be a champion in whatever area that you can think of. What do? You practice like heck, right? You're running to no end. You're doing endless repetition, day after day after day after day. You know, you're going through highs and lows and disappointments, whatever it is, for what? To win the championship. And they're willing to go through anything for a little drop of fame. What you're getting for every step, for every Emuna sustained step in this world, is nothing less than eternity itself, infinity itself. To win that kind of championship, you need to practice. You have to go through whatever it is you need to go through to have the kalim in order to do that. Bezat Hashem, this is where we'll stop this week. And Bezat Hashem, next week we'll continue and talk about that particular Nakuda that suddenly, after walking the desert for a long time, he saw a lane going from the side. We'll talk about that. What does it mean, a lane going from the side? What's the difference? He went in the desert all over. What is the lane from the side? That he said, you know something, being that I went in the desert for such a long time, didn't find it, maybe I'll go in this lane. We'll talk about a bit more what the desert means and why this lane is the choice he needs to take.